Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Absolute Resonance Part 1 based on novel. So let's start. The Xia Kingdom. Jianshu Province. The June sun was blazing, scorching the city of Southwind with its heat. Many youthful faces could be seen within a bright, spacious training area of the Southwind Academy. The young boys and girls were all dressed in training gear and were seated in the lotus position. They were arranged in a circle and their gazes were directed towards the center where two figures were engaged in a rapid-fire duel. Clear ringing sounds could be heard echoing throughout the training area each time their wooden swords clashed. Both of the duelists were young, roughly 15 or 16 years of age. The youth to the right was quite slender and handsome, with a pair of lively eyes and an elegant demeanor. His spectacular leather clothes alone drew the rapt, bashful gazes of quite a few of the maidens present. "Go, Li Luo!" A particularly brave maiden let out a cheer of support. Li Luo's opponent was another youth, but a much more muscular one. His face looked significantly more brutish, and his skin was swarthy and dark. The duel between him and Li Luo almost looked like a battle between a man and a black bear. When he heard the maiden cheer for Li Luo, he grimaced in a rather jealous manner, then roared out, "Li Luo, I'm not going to hold back any longer." He took a step forward, causing the floorboard to tremble, then chopped out with his wooden sword towards Li Luo. The sword seemed to screech as it sliced through the air. Li Luo's gaze flickered as he saw the shadow of the sword reaching towards him. He suddenly leapt forwards, moving as agilely as a swallow as he sidestepped this fierce, ponderous strike. "The wind sparrow step!" Someone cried out with a hint of praise. The wind sparrow step was just a basic resonance art which quite a few of the people present knew, but not many were able to execute it with Li Luo's level of skill. Li Luo shot towards the muscular youth like a flying sparrow, then suddenly struck out in a move akin to drawing the sword. A ray of light seemed to flash with incredible speed as his sword pierced towards his opponent's chest. "The lesser nimble light sword," another called out in surprise. Li Luo's strike had flashed forward like the curved horns of an antelope, an attack that was both fast and vicious. The onlookers couldn't help but sigh in praise. The most talented student of the Southwind Academy truly lives up to his reputation. The look on the muscular youth's face changed when he saw Li Luo strike at him. However, he was no pushover himself. At this critical moment, he forcefully stabilized himself and then rapidly leapt several steps backwards. Right at this moment, a faint silvery glow exuded from his hand, seeming to take the form of a blurry silver bear's palm as he grasped the wooden sword. Accompanying the glow was a faint, deep, bear-like growl that seemed to emanate from somewhere within the muscular youth's body. One of the many watching students let out a surprised cry. "That's Jiao Qi's 5th grade silver bear resonance. It seems he's really taking this seriously." Accompanied by many amazed cries, Jiao Qi took a step forwards, causing cracks to appear in the floorboards beneath him as he delivered a chopping blow towards Li Luo. His heavy wooden sword was filled with an aura of dominating power and accompanied by an ear-piercing gust of wind, and a rapid silver glow was quickly coalescing atop the sword as well. "Brutal chop!" the muscular youth roared out, delivering a brilliant blow directly against the incoming piercing sword shadow. Boom! The two swords slammed into each other with such tremendous force that Li Luo's wooden sword started to crumble into pieces. In the end, the entire wooden sword was blown apart by the forceful, dominating, grizzly-like strike. Faced with this tremendous power, Li Luo was knocked dozens of steps backwards. After stabilizing himself, Li Luo lowered his head to glance at the remnants of his wooden sword, then let out a helpless chuckle. "Fine, Jiao Qi. You win." "Oh." This regretful sound simultaneously came from the mouths of multiple maidens as they heard his pronouncement. However, many of the young men watching let out little sniggers of joy. As lusty young men in the prime of their health, they naturally felt quite a bit of jealousy towards Li Luo, due to the amount of affection the young maidens present bore him. What a pity! Li Luo's attack was clearly deadlier. He's considerably superior to Jiao Qi when it comes to applying resonance arts. If it wasn't for the fact that he has yet to awaken a resonance, he definitely would have won this duel, an onlooker evaluated. Agreed. Jiang Qing'e has a 5th grade silver bear resonance that grants him astonishing power. In addition, I suspect his resonant power has reached the 5th seal as well. He lives up to his reputation as the strongest member of the second school. Li Luo is definitely incredibly talented in learning and using resonance arts, but he was born without a resonance of his own. This is an incurable weakness. No matter how skilled you are in applying and using a resonance art, your attacks won't be of much use if you don't have sufficiently powerful base of resonant power supporting it. No need for you to pity him. Think about who Li Luo is. He's the young lord of House Loulan, one of the 4 great houses of the Xia Kingdom. His parents, in turn, were the youngest dukes in the kingdom. In 10 short years, their newly established House Loulan quickly ascended to become one of the 4 great houses. Not only are they famous in the Xia Kingdom, they've even earned a reputation beyond our borders. Well, all that is ancient history. 3 years ago, his parents went missing during the Nobles' War, and ever since then House Loulan has grown much weaker. And, from what I've heard, there's currently a lot of dissent within House Loulan itself. In the future, it might even break apart. I doubt he'll be the young lord for much longer. Oh? Is that really true? The current leader of House Loulan is Jiang Qing'e, right? One of our senior classmates. When this name came out, ardent looks appeared in the eyes of all the young men present. This was because the name Jiang Qing'e had reached mythical status in the annals of the Southwind Academy. Still, when they remembered the special relationship she had with Li Luo, the ardent looks transformed into gazes aimed at Li Luo that were rather odd. As the young men and women present all whispered and gossiped with each other, Jiang Qing'e walked towards Li Luo, then patted him on the shoulder. Smiling, he said, "You all right? Don't blame me for seizing an unfair advantage." Li Luo chuckled. Jiang Qing'e was the straightforward sort, and the two of them were usually on quite good terms. The man hadn't broken any rules either. The fact that he was born with a blank resonance was his greatest weakness. He couldn't blame Jiang Qing'e for that. A middle-aged man had been watching the two of them from the sidelines for quite some time. Finally, he turned his gaze away. This man's name was Xu Shanyu, and he was the teacher of the second school. Xu Shanyu's eyes were also filled with a lot of regret. Li Luo truly was an incredibly talented figure, and he was able to learn any resonance art faster than an average person. In this, he had clearly taken after his two incredible parents, and in fact he actually surpassed them. Unfortunately, the fact that he was born with a blank resonance would prove quite problematic for him when it came to improving his resonant power. When humans trained, they had to rely upon their own resonance and use it as their foundations. They would use their resonances to draw upon the natural energy of the world, then convert it into the force known as power. There were countless different types of resonances, but most could be roughly divided into one of two camps: elemental resonances and beast resonances. Elemental resonances referred to the various elements that filled heaven and earth, such as water, fire, wind, or thunder. As for the beast resonances? According to the legends, during the earliest dawn of human civilization, there was an almighty figure that attempted to strengthen humanity by extracting the spirits of countless beasts, then infusing these spirits into the various human bloodlines, giving birth to what was now called beast resonances. In general, both elemental resonances and beast resonances could be roughly divided into 9 different grades. Normally, when a human child reached his teens, a cavity known as the resonant palace would appear within that child's body. Once it manifested, it would naturally give birth to that child's resonance. Jiang Qing'e, for example, had awakened a 5th grade silver bear resonance within his resonant palace. This obviously was one of the many beast resonances. This resonance specialized in granting tremendous strength, and when combined with his own formidable resonant power, it was capable of unleashing truly destructive levels of power. And this was where Li Luo's problem lay. Even though his resonant palace had appeared, no resonance had manifested within the palace. It was completely empty. Cases like this were incredibly rare, and were generally referred to as having a blank resonance. Since he had no resonance to serve as a foundation for drawing and refining energy from the natural world, it was very difficult for him to gain a high level of resonant power. This was the fundamental reason why he had just been defeated by Jiang Qing'e. He had no resonance within his palace. The Academy had already performed many different tests to understand why this was the case. His parents were both outstanding figures, after all, and the high-level members of the Academy had very high hopes for him. They had initially believed that in the future, he would definitely be able to gain entrance into the best high-level academy of the Xia Kingdom, the Astral Sage College. When Li Luo had first entered the South Wind Academy, he had lived up to their expectations, demonstrating an absolutely astonishing aptitude for training in resonance arts. He had been immediately granted entrance into its first school, where all the most talented students of the entire Tianshu province were gathered. Alas, as time advanced and as all the students began to manifest their resonances, his current problem had reared its ugly head. By now, he was the only one with a resonant palace but nothing inside it. As a result, although he was always faster to learn new arts than the other students, his resonant power grew at a much slower rate. By now, his resonant power had actually fallen to be below the average for the first academy. The whole point of learning resonance arts was to be able to apply your resonant power to greater effect, but if your resonant power was weak to begin with, well, there was a limit to what even the most profound of resonant arts could achieve. After subjecting Li Luo to a battery of tests, the administrators had come to the conclusion that Li Luo's body simply, innately, lacked any resonance at all. In the future, it would be incredibly difficult for him to advance in his cultivation. After they reached this conclusion, the resonance instructor of the first school immediately requested that Li Luo be removed from the first school and sent to the second school. To be fair, this made sense. The first school was the place where all the most talented students were gathered, and the teacher simply didn't want Li Luo to hold the others back. But of course, the other, more important reason was that right at that time, both of Li Luo's parents had vanished. With them gone, House Loulan had quickly become the weakest of the four great houses. Their position was now quite awkward. And so, in the end, Li Luo had been sent to the second school. Xu Shanyu sighed to himself. When Li Luo had first arrived at the second school, Jiang Qing'e wasn't even a match for him. Now, a mere semester later, Jiang Qing'e was able to overwhelm him. If this continued, his ranking within the second school would most likely continue to drop over the course of the next semester. Unless he was able to dramatically improve his performance, it was likely that he would stand no chance at all of being granted entry into the Astral Sage College. The more Xu Shanyu looked at Li Luo's calm, handsome features and his suave demeanor, the more pity he felt. He knew that the youth was incredibly hard-working, but his parents were simply so spectacular that everyone had incredible expectations for him. As a result, their prestige had become a source of tremendous pressure. Everyone knew the saying that talented parents often had useless children, but few would delve deeper into the reasons behind this. Li Luo cast a glance at the many pitying gazes aimed at him, swept the splinters off his clothes, then sat down cross-legged. He knew exactly what all of them were thinking, of course. A blank resonance, eh? This pretty much guaranteed that his future prospects were dim. But Li Luo smirked slightly. He couldn't help but unconsciously reach down to touch his lower abdomen. He had a secret which no one else knew. In his resonant palace, there was more than just a so-called blank resonance. For cultivators of this world, at first their bodies would give birth to a single resonant palace, only later, when they reached the duke stage, would they gain a second resonant palace. Finally, upon reaching the king stage, they would gain a third. However, the number of dukes in the Xia Kingdom could be counted on one hand, while kings were virtually unheard of despite how powerful the Xia Kingdom was. But of course, there were no absolutes. Supposedly, there were some especially blessed individuals who had a chance of gaining a second resonant palace even before they reached the duke stage. This happened naturally as their resonant power advanced, but the chances were incredibly low. And this was what made Li Luo special. Although he was still at the earliest 10 seals stage, he didn't have just one resonant palace in his body, he had 3, which was completely unheard of. Normally, only supreme experts who had reached the king stage would have 3 resonant palaces, but somehow this had manifested within his body. But what was even more shocking was that all 3 palaces were blank. Having a blank resonance meant your future prospects were dim. But 3 blank resonances, did that mean you had a future, or not? Li Luo let out a sigh, a rather depressed look on his face. Just as Li Luo was feeling all these mixed emotions, Jiao Qing'e came over and sat down next to him. Jiao Qing'e whispered, "You still haven't resolved your resonance problem, eh?" Li Luo silently shook his head. Upon seeing this, Jiao Qing'e let out a helpless sigh as well. Actually, he knew that this was a dumb question. A person was born with a resonance, it was innate, and no one had ever heard of someone later filling in a blank palace with something else. Clearly, Li Luo was facing a serious problem. As the two chatted, Xu Shanyu walked into the dueling grounds. After giving Li Luo a few words of encouragement, he turned and said to the many students present, "Everyone, important exams will be starting next month. Your chances at entering a college will be dependent on your performance in the exams. I urge you all to train hard." The students were all silent and they all had solemn looks on their faces. All their years of hard work were focused towards the exams coming up next month. If they were able to get into a college, then their future prospects would improve dramatically. After this, Xu Shanyu announced that class was over. Li Luo and Jiao Qing'e walked side by side as they left alongside the other students. "I'm going to spend some more time training my resonance arts. Honestly, you gave me a good scare today. I suspect that if your resonant power was just slightly higher, you'd beat the pants off of me," Jiao Qing'e said with a sigh after exiting the training grounds. He then waved goodbye towards Li Luo. Li Luo smiled as he watched Jiao Qing'e depart. He knew the truth. Jiao Qing'e was afraid that Li Luo was in poor spirits after this defeat, and so wanted to give him some alone time. What Jiao Qing'e didn't understand was that by now, Li Luo had grown accustomed to it all. Li Luo withdrew his gaze, then turned and followed a tree-lined road that led outside the academy. He ran into quite a few students as he walked, and all of them, both male and female, would glance at him as they passed. It wasn't just because of his good looks, rather, it was because he was now a rather notorious figure at the academy. In the face of their gazes, Li Luo maintained a look of practiced indifference. He continued to follow the pathway until he reached the academy gates, at which point he paused. In front of him was a large number of students who were all speaking in a lively manner. These students were all surrounding a very special bluestone wall, the South Wind Academy's Wall of Honor. It contained the descriptions of all the mighty figures who had once graduated from the South Wind Academy. By now, all the students had seen the Wall of Honor countless times. Logically speaking, they should have grown weary of examining it long ago, but for some reason they were quite focused on it today. Li Luo pursed his lips. He knew what was going on. The vast majority of the students here were because of her. Li Luo turned his gaze to a very specific point on the Wall of Honor. There was a gleaming crystal at that point, emanating rays of light that slowly coalesced into a tall, willow, and almost lifelike figure. The figure was that of a girl. She was dressed in the school uniform of South Wind Academy, a light blue cape, a simple white tunic, and a short black dress. She had a pair of long, dainty legs that were perfectly white and pleasing to the eye. Her facial features were similarly exquisite. She had an elegant, raised nose, long and thick lashes, and snow-white skin. All of these were quite mesmerizing to behold, but it was her eyes that truly engraved her in everyone's mind. Her pupils were golden, and they emanated an ineffable feeling of purity. If you stared into them long enough, you would begin to feel a sense of pressure. Her gaze was rather cool, and she stared straight ahead, with one hand on her slender hips and the other resting on the hilt of a heavy sword. Any who saw her would instantly feel a sensation of heroic, fierce majesty emanating from her. She truly was a soul-stirring girl, in terms of both appearance and demeanor. The wall behind her projection held her name, Jiang Qing'e. She was one of the dazzling star graduates of the South Wind Academy, born with a 9th grade light resonance and enough talent to cause the countless people of the Xia Kingdom to sigh in amazement. After spending just 2 years in the academy, she had been immediately recruited by the Astral Sage College even though she had yet to take her graduation exams. In the past 100 years, she was the only person in Jiangsu province to receive such an honor. By now, she was a legend of the South Wind Academy, and the many students who had enrolled after her practically worshipped the ground she walked on. In fact, she was now incredibly famous throughout the entirety of the Xia Kingdom. Li Luo stared at the projection of Jiang Qing'e in a daze for a few moments, before noticing that quite a few gazes had turned towards him. Those gazes were filled with a look of resentment, envy, and puzzlement. Li Luo maintained his look of practiced indifference. He knew exactly why they were staring at him like that. It was because Jiang Qing'e, venerated almost like a goddess by both the male and female students of the South Wind Academy, had two other statuses. She had been trained by his parents since she was young, and she was his betrothed. Or, to put it another way, she was his fiancée. As far as Li Luo could recall, the first time he met Jiang Qing'e was when he was 3. His parents had just returned from a long journey, and on their return they had brought back the 5-year-old Jiang Qing'e. Later on, they had accepted her as their disciple. From a certain perspective, it could be said that the two of them truly were inseparable childhood friends, and his parents had truly doted on her as well. Unfortunately, ever since they were young, the relationship between the two was rather complicated. Jiang Qing'e was simply too outstanding, even as a child, and she was also 2 years older than Li Luo. Whenever they fought as children, the end result was invariably Jiang Qing'e beating the snot out of him in a calm manner until he submitted. Honestly, it was a frigging nightmare. As for the reason why she became his fiancée, supposedly, when she was roughly 10 or so years old, Li Luo's father had commented in a drunken stupor that it would be wonderful if she one day became his daughter-in-law. The very next day, the 10-year-old Jiang Qing'e had personally written up a marriage contract and handed it over to Li Luo's speechless father. That night, Li Luo's old man had almost been beaten senseless by Li Luo's enraged mother. Worse, Li Luo had been watching and laughing at all of this, and as a result his mother had spanked the crap out of him as well. Li Luo's mother had asked Jiang Qing'e to annul the marriage contract. Unexpectedly, she put on a rare show of absolute stubbornness. Without saying a word, she simply knelt down before Li Luo's mother and father and refused to rise. In the end, Li Luo's mother and father had no choice but to accede to her request. However, after doing so, they secreted away the marriage contract and never raised the topic again, pretending as though it had never existed. As time had passed, nothing further was said on the matter. Everyone, even Li Luo himself, had long since forgotten about it. However, one day when Jiang Qing'e was at the South Wind Academy, she told a particularly determined suitor that she and Li Luo had long ago betrothed to each other. This news had stunned the entire academy. No, it had shocked the entire Jiangsu province. Thankfully, at that time Li Luo had yet to enter the South Wind Academy, otherwise, if he had, he would have instantly become an absolute pariah. Even now, after the passage of so many years, Li Luo was still somewhat affected by the aftershocks of that announcement. From this, he keenly understood just how charismatic a figure Jiang Qing'e was. "Pops, you really screwed me over," Li Luo silently mumbled to himself. "Yo, Li Luo. Why do you pause here every day? Are you enjoying the envious gazes of the crowds?" Just as Li Luo was sighing to himself, a girl's voice suddenly rang out from behind him. Li Luo turned, only to see an attractive young maiden standing behind him. Her hair was waist-long, and although she wasn't quite up to par with Jiang Qing'e, she was definitely a natural beauty. The skin-tight school uniform she wore accentuated her lovely curves quite nicely. At this moment, the young maiden was standing with arms folded across her chest, a rather mocking look on her face. Despite that, a calm look was on Li Luo's face when he saw her. This was Diffa Qing, one of his classmates. She was considered a beautiful golden flower of the South Wind Academy, and came from the Diffa clan, one of the 3 great clans of the Jiangsu province. She didn't have anything against Li Luo. However, she was a die-hard fan of Jiang Qing'e, the extremely overzealous, almost obsessive type of die-hard fan. In her eyes, Jiang Qing'e was as beautiful, flawless, and perfect as an immortal fairy. There was no man in this world who was worthy of her, and of course, that included Li Luo as well. Even though Diffa Qing agreed that Li Luo was an exceedingly handsome fellow, she also felt that looks were superficial. Someone worthy of Jiang Qing'e had to be a dragon amongst men, both internally and externally. Li Luo, however, had only won a marriage contract with her thanks to his parents. In Diffa Qing's eyes, this was an absolute blemish on her goddess honor. And so, ever since Li Luo had joined the South Wind Academy, whenever Differ Qing saw him she would first commence with a barrage of mocking words. After that, a series of endless questions. Li Luo, when are you going to annul the marriage contract between yourself and elder sister Jiang? Right on cue. She had repeated this question countless times by now. Even Li Luo couldn't help but rub the bridge of his nose before responding irritably, none of your damn business. He then turned and left. A look of anger instantly appeared on Differ Qing's face. She stubbornly followed behind him. Li Luo, do you really want to be the proverbial toad that lusts after a swan? Li Luo, however, simply continued to ignore her completely. This just further enraged her to the point where her veins started to pop out. She sped up her footsteps to chase him down, then continued, Li Luo, if you refuse to annul the wedding contract, the only one who's gonna be in trouble is you. The more talented elder sister Jiang is, the more trouble you'll be in. Your parents have been missing for years now, and even House Loulan itself is at the verge of collapse. Your status as the young lord of the house isn't going to be able to shield you for much longer. You have no idea how many incredibly talented young men of Xia, all of whom have powerful backgrounds, are all smitten by her. Just because your parents treated her well, doesn't mean you can force her to repay you like this. Li Luo, if you refuse to annul the marriage contract with her, even here in the academy there will be people who will cause you trouble. Finally, Li Luo came to a halt. Oh? And who might that be? Differ Qing let out a light snort. I imagine you know who Bei Kuan of the Bei clan is, yes? He's already made it known that he hopes you will not rely on your status to force yourself on elder sister Jiang. He's also requested that you have a small meeting with him at the Clearwind in 2 days. Li Luo chuckled. I'm familiar with him, yes. In the past, he always liked to fawn over me. When his parents were still around, House Loulan's words held almost as much weight as that of the governor of Jiangsu province. Bei Kuan had often paid visits to Li Luo and professed his undying friendship. Who would have thought that a few scant years later, House Loulan's situation would have completely changed and this former friend of his would now come and cause him trouble? In the past, Bei Kuan's favorite pastime was to put on banquets at the Clearwind Hotel, and he often would issue warm invitations to Li Luo. Now, he was proposing a hostile rendezvous? The man was straightforward enough. Differ Qing said, Li Luo, there's no need for you to mock him. This is how the world is. When your clan is powerful, many will toady up to you. Now that House Loulan has weakened, why should others give you any face? Even in the past, the ones they were giving face to were your parents, not you. Li Luo nodded in agreement. I quite agree with what you said. During the course of the past 2 years, Li Luo had quickly come to learn just how fickle fortune and friendship could be. Thus, he said nothing else and instead sped up as he departed the academy. However, Differ Qing followed after him. She was seemingly unwilling to just let this rest, and continued yammering non-stop. Every single thing she said was aimed at one thing, that Li Luo should be willing to give Jiang Qing'e her freedom. By now, Li Luo knew that the best way to deal with this type of person was to completely ignore her, and so he didn't pay attention to a single word she said. Finally, after passing through a series of hallways, he exited the academy. As he did so, he suddenly noticed that the ambient noise level seemed to have dropped dramatically. Even the mosquito-like buzzing of Differ Qing seemed to have come to a halt, as though she had a frog in her throat. Li Luo turned to glance at her, only to see that her face was bright red. A look of excitement was in her eyes as she stared at the stone stairway outside the academy. Suspecting what was going on, Li Luo followed her gaze, only to see that a carriage was parked before the stairway. The carriage had an antique, noble design and was quite spacious. It had 4 pure red wheels, and was pulled by a muscular lion horse. At the front of the carriage was a very familiar insignia, the House Loulan insignia. As for the reason why Differ Qing's face was crimson, and all the nearby students had looks of excitement on their faces, it naturally wasn't just because of the House Loulan carriage itself, rather, it was the young woman standing in front of the carriage. The young woman had her hair in a casual ponytail, and her features were both exquisite while graceful. Her skin shone beneath the rays of the setting sun. She was dressed in a short blue cape, held a thin whip, and wore a short war skirt. Beneath the war skirt was a pair of mouth-watering slim white legs, but most eye-catching of all was her pure, lustrous golden-pupiled eyes that shone like the sun. It was Jiang Qing'e. A series of murmurs began to arise from outside the academy. Countless students were staring at her slender figure. They never would have imagined that on this day, they would have the chance to see in person this legendary graduate of the Southwind Academy. Li Luo passed through the murmuring, excited crowd as he walked down the steps, then moved next to Jiang Qing'e. Rather surprised, he said, "Sister Qing'e, when did you return to Southwind City?" Although House Loulan had arisen in Southwind, after becoming one of the 4 great houses of the Xia Kingdom, it had already shifted its headquarters to the capital of the Xia Kingdom, the city of Xia. After Jiang Qing'e had been admitted into the Astral Sage College, the most supreme college of the Xia Kingdom, she too had moved to Xia City. Over the past 2 years, she had also been consumed with affairs regarding the management of House Loulan, and so it was quite rare for her to return to Southwind. It had been quite some time since even Li Luo had seen her. Jiang Qing'e glanced at him, then said in a calm voice, "Tomorrow is your 17th birthday. In addition, House Loulan has some important business to be discussed here. I just arrived at Southwind today, so I thought I'd come pick you up and take you home." Her voice was extremely pleasing to hear. It was both crisp and calm, like water from a deep mountain spring that was falling upon jade. Li Luo nodded. The attitude that Jiang Qing'e was displaying didn't surprise him in the slightest. He had known her for ages now. This was just how her personality was. "Let's go, then," he said. Jiang Qing'e was simply too popular here at Southwind Academy. Just by standing here, she had become the focal attention of the entire area. He himself felt as though everyone was staring daggers at him. Jiang Qing'e nodded slightly, but she didn't immediately turn back. Instead, she looked at the excited Differ Qing, who was standing right behind Li Luo. "Your name is Differ Qing, yes?" Differ Qing nodded repeatedly, her face ruddy from excitement. "You actually still remember me, elder sister Jiang?" Jiang Qing'e said quietly, "I hope you won't bother Li Luo anymore. Otherwise, I will probably have to take extremely good care of your elder brother at the Astral Sage College." The look of excitement on Differ Qing's face instantly froze. A long moment later, transfixed by Jiang Qing'e's golden gaze, she nervously nodded. She no longer displayed any of the earlier confidence and arrogance that she had shown before Li Luo. After speaking, Jiang Qing'e turned and entered the carriage alongside Li Luo, her blue cape flapping slightly. Moments later, the lion horse let out a long bellow before it carried them away through the mist. As for Differ Qing, she just stood there and watched the carriage depart. A long while later, she finally rubbed her eyes, an intoxicated look on her face. "Elder sister Jiang, she's so cool. I absolutely adore her." The lion horse rapidly galloped through the wide streets of Southwind City. It pulled the carriage behind it in a stable yet fast manner, causing the forest of buildings to rapidly disappear. The inside of the carriage was quite spacious, and the temperature was quite comfortable. Li Luo and Jiang Qing'e were seated facing each other, with a small tea table between them. The two didn't exchange many words. Li Luo just sat there calmly with his eyes closed, while Jiang Qing'e had opened up a book and was intently reading it. A ray of sunlight shone into the carriage from a crack in the curtains, falling upon Jiang Qing'e's exquisite jade features and giving her an almost crystalline, translucent complexion. After a long period of silence, Jiang Qing'e blinked her long lashes, lifted up her slender face, then stared intently at Li Luo with her golden eyes. "It seems the words I spoke at Southwind Academy all those years ago have caused you some trouble. I'm very sorry about that." Li Luo remained silent, but he opened his eyes. He looked back at her, noting her exquisite features as well as her aura of strength and fierceness, then chuckled. "I don't see any sincerity in this apology. If you are sincere, then let me cancel our engagement." Jiang Qing'e flipped through a few more pages. "Is this the legendary annulment request? But according to the way the script is supposed to play out, I should be the one making this request. Have you perhaps gotten things backwards?" Li Luo was caught off guard by her sudden display of deadpan humor. For a moment, He didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. Jiang Qing'e raised her head and cast him a glance, then said calmly, "What's the problem? Are you afraid that our engagement will cause you even more problems in the future?" Li Luo was silent for a moment, then shook his head. "I'm worried that I would be holding you back. There's no reason for a girl like you to be burdened by an unnecessary engagement. And while we are on this topic, do you know how many times my old man got his ass kicked by my mom because of this engagement? Now, I personally supported her kicking his ass for him coming up with such a stupid idea, but the real problem was each time, after she finished kicking his ass, I would get my ass kicked as well." A resentful look appeared in Li Luo's eyes as he discussed this. As for Jiang Qing'e, when she thought back to how that normally gentle and refined woman had repeatedly given drubbings to both Li Luo and his father for her sake, her small red lips couldn't help but quiver in amusement. Afterwards, she calmed back down and shook her head. "I'm not worried." Li Luo felt a headache coming. "Then what if you fall for someone else in the future? This is absolutely ridiculous, you know." Jiang Qing'e smiled calmly. "I might not meet such a person. I'm quite picky, you know, and now that the two of us are engaged, there's no way I'd give my heart to another." Li Luo stared hard at Jiang Qing'e. Suddenly, a hint of anger entered his voice. "Jiang Qing'e, what the hell are you thinking? I know my parents treated you well, and you are very grateful towards them, but there's no need for you to express your gratitude this way. What the hell do you take me for? A tool for you to show gratitude? You might have agreed to this engagement, but I never did." Li Luo's sudden show of anger startled her. She stared pensively at him with her pure golden eyes for a long, silent moment, then lowered her head slightly. "I apologize. I admit that I didn't take your feelings into consideration." Seeing this, Li Luo pressed the advantage. "If that's the case, then we should dash." However, Jiang Qing'e raised her head again, then stared at Li Luo intently. "You know what the rules of our house are. If two house members are unable to come to an agreement, then the only way to resolve it is through a duel. The winner gets to make the final decision." This was a rule which Li Luo's mother had laid down, and it was applicable to any household disagreements whatsoever. Thus every time she and Li Luo's father had gotten into an argument, she would roll up her sleeves and then drag the old man into the training grounds to fight it out. "If you truly are completely unwilling to be engaged to me, then we can go to the family training grounds and then resolve it in accordance with our house rules," Jiang Qing'e said. Li Luo's face turned comically stiff for a moment, before a variety of expressions flashed through it. Finally, he gritted his teeth, pointed at her, and said furiously, "Jiang Qing'e, you go too far. I'm still in the early stages of the 10 seals. How the hell am I supposed to fight against you, an earth fiend?" Human cultivators, after establishing their resonant palace, were considered to have entered the most rudimentary stage, the 10 seals stage. After this came the resonant master stage, at which point they could be considered to have truly embarked into the path of cultivation. There were 3 primary levels to the resonant master stage: general, duke, and king. Putting aside the latter 2 stages for now, the general level itself also consisted of 2 sub-levels. The upper level was known as the Heavenly Dipper General, while the lower sub-level was known as the Earth Fiend General. As for Jiang Qing'e, she was already at the Earth Fiend General level. 1. For someone so young to be able to become an Earth Fiend General was simply stunning. Everyone was truly shocked by Jiang Qing'e and her talent. Some even suspected that she would soon be the one to break the record for being the youngest Duke of the Xia Kingdom. For an Earth Fiend General like her to battle against Li Luo, who was still in the 10 seals stage, honestly, Li Luo was rather worried that if she might whack him to death with a palm, just by accident. Jiang Qing'e put away the book, then said in a regretful manner, "It seems you don't want to accept my proposal. There's nothing else I can do." Li Luo was so furious, he was shaking. What the hell is wrong with the world? Why is it so hard for me to annul my engagement? He then turned to stare lifelessly out the carriage window. From the corner of his eyes, he could still catch a glimpse of Jiang Qing'e specifically, her dazzlingly exquisite features and her intoxicatingly pure golden eyes. Li Luo let out a sigh, then said in a much more subdued voice, "Big Sister Qing, we've known each other for years. I know very well that the feelings you have for me are not romantic in nature. What's the point of being engaged when love isn't part of the picture?" Jiang Qing'e was silent for a moment. "Honestly, my first reaction is to say a 17-year-old kid like you shouldn't put on such worldly airs. But I have to admit that you do speak some sense. However, I have no interest in any other men at all. As for you, at least I don't find you repulsive." Li Luo let out a bitter chuckle. "Big Sister Qing, the main reason you set up this engagement was to show your gratitude to my parents. I'm sure that your feelings towards them are much stronger than any feelings you might have towards me. But I really have no need for this form of gratitude. Li Luo lowered his head. He said in a slow voice, "I know that it isn't going to be easy to get you to annul this engagement," but he raised his head to stare directly into her eyes. "I hope that you will give me, and yourself, a chance." Li Luo paused a moment, then continued. "Let's do a trade. I'm not strong enough to manage our house, and so in the interim you have taken over on my behalf. One day, however, I will take back control. If on that day, you are able to return to me a house that is more or less as strong and prosperous as the one you took over, then as my way of showing gratitude, I will grant you freedom from this engagement. Deal?" Jiang Qing'e did not immediately respond. For a long, silent moment, she tapped her long, slender white fingers on the table in a rhythmic manner. Finally, she said in a soft voice, "Li Luo, do you really dislike me that much?" Li Luo was startled. He took a deep breath, then said, "Jiang Qing'e, I think you may have underestimated your attractiveness and your appeal. Your beauty and your charisma is enough to cause anyone of our age to be instantly smitten with you. If I claim to have no interest in you at all, then I would be lying to both myself as well as to you. But this is not the type of engagement I want, or need." Jiang Qing'e raised an eyebrow, then suddenly smacked the table with one dainty hand. Crack! The sudden sound jolted Li Luo, causing him to quickly sidle backwards. "Hey, let's keep it civilized. No need to resort to violence." Jiang Qing'e rolled her eyes at him, then said calmly, "Li Luo, it's been a while since we've met. Clearly, you've become a bit more eloquent since then. I agree that your words have some merit. Fine. We can treat this as a trade. Once you are ready to assume control over House Loulan, I'll be sure to hand it over in a healthy, intact state. At that time, you can annul our engagement." Li Luo was speechless, then let out a long sigh. He instantly felt as though he had been relieved of a heavy burden. However, in the deepest part of his heart, he couldn't help but feel a sense of inexplicable loss. He cursed at himself for feeling this. The hell is wrong with you? Your little speech today has caused me to look upon you in a new light. It seems you are no longer a little boy. Li Luo was irritated. Little boy? There's nothing little about me. Jiang Qing'e ignored his words. She gazed at him with an enigmatic half-smile, then continued, "But, Li Luo, I do have to give you a little reminder. Are you absolutely sure you want to enter this deal with me? Once our engagement is off, I suspect that you will never, ever have a chance to get it back." Li Luo narrowed his eyes, then leaned forward with both hands pressed to the desk and stared directly at Jiang Qing'e. Their faces were less than a foot apart. "Jiang Qing'e, I really have no interest in this type of engagement, because in the future I intend for you to personally hand me an engagement agreement rather than hand my parents one." Jiang Qing'e stared right back into Li Luo's handsome face with her golden eyes, the amusement on her face growing stronger. She knew exactly what Li Luo meant. The reason why he wanted to annul this marriage agreement was because as of right now, she had no interest in him as a man. If in the future she once more proposed to be engaged to him, it would only be because she had fallen for him. "Sit your butt down." Her red lips quivered. Suddenly, an invisible force appeared out of nowhere and pressed Li Luo back into seat with enough force to cause him to let out an involuntary squawk. Just like that, all of his posturing had been wiped away. Jiang Qing'e rested a hand on her fragrant cheeks, then cast Li Luo a rather lazy look. You don't have a lot of skills, but you sure have a lot of guts. I've encountered many geniuses in recent years, but none of them ever dared to speak to me like this. Li Luo, don't let your reach exceed your grasp by too much. Your goal is completely unrealistic. But if you really want to give it a shot, I'll give you a chance. Her golden pupils suddenly glowed with a mysterious, inscrutable light. I'll wait for you at the Astral Sage College. This is your first step. If you can't even accomplish this, then let's both just forget about what you said today. We'll chalk it up as being the words of a rebellious youth. This time, Li Luo didn't interrupt. He leaned back against the carriage window as he slowly closed his eyes. He said in a calm voice, "Then just wait for me there." Jiang Qing'e turned her gaze out the window. As she watched their carriage move past the various buildings, a stray ray of sunlight sparkled across her golden eyes. The tiniest of smiles appeared on her face, filled with a rare look of softness. After they had traveled for a long period of time, Li Luo suddenly opened his eyes. Rather puzzled, he said, "This isn't the way home." Jiang Qing'e gently nodded, then said quietly, "We're going to pay a visit to the Golden Dragon Bank. There's something we need to pick up there." She turned her golden gaze towards Li Luo. "Before Master and Mistress left, they prepared something for you. They said that you were only to open it up after you reached the age of 17. Li Luo was speechless. His heart shook. "Mom, Dad, you left something behind for me?" 1. These stages come from the tales of the water margin Suikoden. There were 108 legendary heroes, who were divided into the 36 heavenly dippers and the 72 earthly fiends. This video will end here.